Rogue. Rogue was the first X-Man to ever travel through the Siege Perilous after Roma bestowed it to them as a gift. Her flight through the siege happened in Uncanny X-Men number 247 during the team's fight with a merged version of Nimrod and Master Mold. It wasn't really by choice for her to go through it, but more so out of necessity. The Nimrod/Master Mold robot was getting the best of the team, so Dazzler threw the gate at it, hoping that it would suck the robot through its portal and they'd be done with it forever. Instead, the robot anchored itself to the ground as it was being pulled through and snagged Rogue with its coils too. Dazzler was then faced with a choice. She could either wait for Rogue to break free and maybe risk setting Nimrod Mold free as well, or she could blast them both through the portal. To Dazzler's grief, she chose the latter, and Master Nimrod and Rogue were both sent through the Siege Perilous. This was partially done because of Dazzler's photon blast, but it was also because of the robot's own self-effacing discovery that it had mutated by merging and thus needed to destroy itself in order to align with its own programming of destroying all mutants. Rogue was gone for quite a spell of time, and she didn't show up again until just over 20 issues later in Uncanny X-Men number 269. She reappeared in what was just moments later for her in the X-Men's Australian headquarters, which had been taken over by the Reavers, or should I say retaken over since it was theirs to begin with. Unlike most perilous travelers, Rogue had all of her memories intact, and there was only one drastic difference that was done to her. The Ms. Marvel persona that she absorbed from Carol Danvers so very long ago was split during the Siege's cosmic weighing, and its essence had taken corporeal form and was trying to kill her. The Siege is a fickle thing, which giveth and taketh away, so it only left enough life force energy for one of them to survive, either Rogue or the Ms. Marvel, so it became a showdown yet again between them in order to determine who would get to live. Rogue fought with the Carol from Australia all the way through to the Savage Land, and just when it looked like Carol had the upper hand and Rogue was finally going to get her just desserts, Magneto surprisingly stepped in and killed the Ms. Marvel Wraith so that Rogue could live to drain another day. This finally healed Rogue's fractured mind from going in and out of Carol Danvers mode, which it had been for many, many issues leading up to her going through the Siege Perilous. So traveling through the portal was definitely a good thing in the long term for Rogue, as it gave her some literal peace of mind and a relative level of stability pretty much henceforth. Bastion. When Rogue and the Master Mold Nimrod amalgamation both went through the Siege Perilous in Uncanny X-Men number 247, only Rogue had been shown to come out through the other side. It wasn't until many, many years later that we learned the robot was also spit out, but in a very different form. Instead of splitting up the two robo-consciousnesses like it did for Carol and Rogue, the Siege judged to embed them into one another even deeper by unifying them and creating Bastion. Bastion is most well known in the X universe as being the mastermind behind the Operation Zero Tolerance program. During that storyline, Bastion was an anti-mutant extremist, and we saw a bunch of mutants get kidnapped, and the X-Men basically break up for a short while. OZT holds a very special place in my heart because it's the storyline where Marrow, Maggot, and Dr. Cecilia Reyes made their appearance with the team, and in my opinion, it was just such a lovely time of hard-hitting reality being injected into the X comics. Bastion was thought to be a human, though he was later revealed to be a synthetic being after he was captured and held by S.H.I.E.L.D. for his OZT crimes. Only by escaping and interfacing with the Master Mold head that he had used during Operation Zero Tolerance did he himself learn of his true origin and how he came into being in the first place. His backstory, which feels a bit like it was a retcon, was revealed during the Cable and Machine Man annuals in 1999. Like most Siege travelers, Bastion was naked and totally amnesiac after he emerged. He didn't know anything about his combined life as either Nimrod or Master Mold, and he was found by a kind old lady named Rose Gilberti who treated him as her son. I guess he just lived life as like a supposedly normal human for a while until all the anti-mutant hysteria in the world and the media triggered his predisposed programming to destroy all mutants. He joined hate groups like the Friends of Humanity, where he met great people like Graydon Creed, before finally setting his own Operation Zero Tolerance into motion. Bastion is one of the X-Men's deadliest foes. He has a nasty way of coming back to plague them again and again, so even though he is kind of like a unique anomaly from the Siege in that the Gate kind of created him through the merging of Nimrod and Master Mold, I'm going to go ahead and say that traveling through the Gate was a bad thing for them. Moments before going through, it seemed like they had reconciled the fact that they were mutated and were at peace with destroying themselves, but now here they are reborn, and while no longer a mutant, per se, they are back on that path of hatred and antagonism, which is just such a lot of negative energy to force onto someone who is ready to go offline.